Otakuology podcast with Otaku Mike and Jin Graves.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Otakuology podcast. I am Mike.
Best fucking podcast in the world.
I am Mike, as always, and with me, as always, is Jin Graves.
I'm the comical humor.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Do we have an episode for y'all? I know
I feel like this is more of a you episode.
Well, I meant for like y'all as like y'all and like the people who are listening.
Yeah.
But yeah. So you know how we've kind of talked about people not understanding manga and anime, and how
Right.
we've said that we've made big I almost dropped my microphone. Big strides in the community, growing the community, telling people about manga, explaining manga to people. There are always going to be those naysayers out there. Those people who want to try to disrupt you and make your life difficult for enjoying manga or collecting or whatever. I ran into that recently, and I kind of wanted to talk about that and like the issue as a whole, like how the world or certain parts of the world perceive manga. This reminds me a lot of, like, in my head while I was going through this, the whole parents don't understand song was playing in my head as we were talking about, stuff.
I don't think I know that song.
It's the Will Smith song.
Could you drop us a few lines?
No.
Dang
no.
I tried.
I don't remember all of it off the top of my head. I didn't. Yeah. I had something interesting happen to me actually yesterday. I don't know how to go about talking about this. Because it's honestly very uncomfortable to talk about, and I'm ashamed that it went this far and it involved my children, which all of these are false allegations.
Right. I just have to start by saying it was a pretty dumb thing to have happened.
Yes.
Especially for all of the other parents that are out there that do YouTube or Instagram or anything else.
And read manga,
and myself included in that. I mean, just the overall subject of this was pretty dumb.
I had Child Protective Services called on me yesterday. They wanted to interview me, interview my wife, interview my children. I was like, what's this allegation about? And they said it was the sexual nature. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, they get to me, and the first thing on the docket is my YouTube channel. And particularly the hentai videos that I have done in the past. And my heart just dropped. My heart just dropped. Because I don't publicly tell people that I do YouTube. Like, in my personal life, people don't know that I do YouTube.
Right.
And it's very hard to link my name to my account because I don't use my name at all. I don't know how these people found my account, but those were the videos that they targeted, and specifically the ones that they targeted was the very last video the second to last video I did, which was my hentai collection video. Now,
Yeah.
we look at this, and I was accused of, and there was no outcry, so they're going to be ended up dropping the case. There was no outcry from the children that they've ever seen any of this stuff, or if I have shown them anything when it comes to like adult stuff, because all that stuff is put away. It is put away in my closet, and
Right.
nobody can get to it. But
You just said you were hashing it out.
I was accused of showing manga that was an adult manga to my children. I had to have a woman come into my house, take pictures of my house, come into my room. She took pictures of my manga collection, of my comic books. She asked me, because we get into my room, and then we have the two shelves in my room, and she's like, "Is this the stuff that you told me about?" Because I was truthful, and I said, "Yes, I have this stuff. My kids cannot access it." I was like, all this stuff on here on these shelves are manga. This is not the adult stuff, but there is some stuff that can be classified for adults that is not pornography. She took a
Action.
picture of, huh?
Action.
Action, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I had her on my side a little bit because she noticed it and saw Dragon Ball. And I was like, "Oh, Dragon Ball." I was like, yeah, Dragon Ball, yeah. Thanks for noticing. It's Dragon Ball. Then I was like, she was like, "Okay, well, where's this stuff?" And I'm like, I lead her around the corner, and we have a big closet off to the side. You have to go around a corner and go into our room to actually get to the closet. We have a big old walk-in closet that's, we keep some clothes, some boxes. My anime collection's there. She had to document my anime collection and take pictures of that. And then she's like, "Okay, well, where's this stuff?" And I point to a small shelf that had boxes around it, so nobody could see it. And there was a box on top of it, so she didn't even know it was there. I had to remove the boxes, that they're pretty heavy boxes with like stuff in them, and she had to take pictures of my adult collection for manga. And she mentioned some titles on there, so titles were mentioned in the stuff. And she's like, "Okay, this is the stuff." She took a picture of it, and we went on our way. They interviewed the children, and there were no outcries. I never would have thought that this would ever be a thing.
Right.
Ever. And what makes it even worse, so I have a blended family where I have a daughter and I have a son. My son is technically my stepson. And the person who found my YouTube channel and jumped to conclusions was his grandfather on his dad's side. Him and his dad, we are cool. I don't really talk to his grandfather, so nobody knew I had a YouTube channel. I had to explain to people what I do and what's the stuff I talk about on my channel, and how my channel is not for children. It's not aimed at children. If you're a child, you can't see my YouTube channel, and it really makes me second guess myself and um the world and how the world perceives manga collectors, because I'm fairly open uh on YouTube about, the stuff that I collect, the stuff that I enjoy, the stuff that I like,
Right.
we've kind of talked about this before. Like, manga is for everybody. There's many different types of manga. And to automatically say like that manga is for children, just for children, that's a fucking false statement. I will tell you that much. Uh,
This is true.
uh, and yeah, and I do my best from keeping my children away from inappropriate manga that is not age appropriate. And we've all gone through this of getting manga that we think is for kids, and they have some kind of fan service in it, something in it, that may or may not be age appropriate. Because honestly, the way the Japanese look at it is a little different than the way, say, the US would look at it.
Yes.
And there are definitely ignorant people out there, like the person I had to deal with yesterday, saying these false allegations towards me, which I haven't even had a chance to talk to this person about it. But this person apparently already made up their mind, and I am a bad person because of I read manga.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and the thing that gets me is that you were kind of the only person that was brought up into this.
I was the only person who was brought up into this.
It wasn't, they didn't bring up like video games. They didn't bring up anything else. They didn't bring up other kids that could have had an influence or anything else. It was just you.
It was just me. I am a terrible influence on my children.
And they
a
were
terrible
like,
influence.
They're like, oh my gosh, you're a porn peddler.
Yeah. I'm some sick pervert. And it makes me really question on whether or not I want to continue, like, just doing manga tube in general after this. Like, I've had my setbacks before.
Yeah.
But it really makes me question after this, like, do I just have pedophile like written on my fucking face?
I have no idea on that one, buddy. No, I feel like some of that stuff is low hanging fruit for people to attack you on. And
how so?
I think one of the things, because honestly, the worst part is that out of the two of us, you're the only person that's really gotten anything like that said to you or happened to you, which is frustrating in general. But also having other people that want to split themselves off a little more from things like this, if when people want to make little groups or whatever in the community or whatever and pull themselves away from it, like, this is real world stuff though that we have to deal with all the time.
Like, I never thought that me collecting or reading manga would have a real world impact and potentially break apart my family.
Right. Well,
I tell you the truth.
And here's the other thing too, like, and kind of like what you said yesterday when I brought this up to you.
Yeah.
That, like, you could have given them my number as a thing, but the thing is, we don't think about that. A lot of people go, oh, well, if it's another person that collects manga or whatever, I probably don't need to bring them up, pull them into it or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's kind of another mindset I feel like that we have that's out there as a stigma. But the thing is like we've reviewed before on other episodes and stuff, manga is becoming more prevalent. It's becoming bigger. More people are starting to watch and learn and do all this other stuff. Just like the person you said that came to do all that, they knew what Dragon Ball was,
Yeah.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility with that. But the thing still is when it comes down to it, you are going to have these super naive people that know nothing about it, or
Mm-hmm.
have their own skeletons in the closet. I mean, because
Yeah.
obviously there's not going to be an investigation on that side.
Yeah.
But people just aren't going to usually understand or know some of this other stuff because,
Yeah.
as we've talked about and we've said multiple times talking on a subject close to this one, that
Which is funny because we have an unreleased episode
still
about
talking
us
about this,
still talking about this and about like when we got into anime and manga.
right? See, and that's just the thing, and that's another thing, like splitting up your resources or whatever. When people go, oh well, I don't want to associate with this person or whatever because of XYZ and stuff like that, it doesn't make sense, because while Mike was the person that was targeted this time as a human being that enjoys a hobby, and this was brought into, you know, some kind of a light, I guess, I mean, you're open about it, so
yeah, I'm
you know
open about it.
you just don't tell everybody your YouTube channel, which
Yeah,
makes sense. You don't want everybody flooded.
yeah,
But for this to be something that we've talked about multiple times, and then for it to actually happen, and then to really sit there and figure out that there could be actual real world consequences to shit like this, and
yes,
everybody else that's, I mean, just thinking about it, like, what if other people that we know, the same thing ever happened to them?
yeah.
I mean, and being
I
a,
mean we know other
yeah,
parents who read
who,
manga and adult manga. We do.
right,
Like we're adults. We're I mean, we're not shoving these things down our kids' throats,
right.
We know,
It's because this is our hobby,
yeah, it's our hobby. It's not our hobby and our kids' hobby,
yeah,
you know?
and we're set up kind of, if our kids want to get into it, sure, why not,
Yeah, that's
you know.
fine. I'm not gonna push down their fucking goddamn throat.
But that's also a guiding light that you have to be as well, and
And
say,
be
hey,
responsible. Be responsible.
you know, this is what you read. I wasn't able to purchase this till I was 18. You're
Yeah,
gonna have
yeah,
to you're gonna have to wait till you're 18 to read this.
yeah,
Just because I bought it doesn't mean that you get to read it automatically.
yeah. That's for sure. That's for
you
sure.
know.
Yeah,
So,
I just
and one of the other things that you and I talked about is like, um, the kids. I mean, the
yeah,
kids don't really show that big of an interest. Now they
no.
enjoy the Pokemon manga,
That is about, and my daughter enjoys Chi Sweet Home, and that is it.
right? So, I mean, when you look at it that way, like, there's not really anything that anybody should have been able to grab on and say, "Oh man, this guy is
Yeah,
definitely peddling hentai to children."
yeah, and like it was so hard for me to be like, hey, this nice person's gonna come talk to you and ask you if your dad has hurt you in any way or anything like that. Like, how do you explain that to your child?
Right,
And then when you find out it's about a fucking comic book,
right,
are we living in this seduction of innocence time where comic books were bad, and people were burning them left and right because they were corrupting the minds of our children?
right,
Like, fucking no. It's
right,
2022. There are worse things out there
right. Well, and
than
it's
than a
it's
backwards comic book.
it's more easily
It is
accessible for them to
easily
be able to
accessible.
do that
All you have to
too.
do is go on the internet.
Yeah,
Like, I had my stuff hidden away.
right,
you know? Shit.
right.
I'm
Well,
getting worked up just talking about this shit.
well, and one of the other things that I find funny that you and I have actually talked about, because hentai manga, or like faku manga, is on a lower scale to me than like getting a Hustler magazine or a Playboy
Well, when
magazine.
you think about it, like even in like I can go on Amazon and buy it. I can go
Right.
on Right Stuff and buy it. And like even like the manga that we have, like like Worlds and Harem, uh,
Which is
oh
the
god,
shonen.
Worlds and Harem, Raw Hero, all those other ones, Gigant.
Yeah.
They're all classified as manga, but they're set in the erotica section on Right Stuff
Right.
because there is more adult fan service in those books,
Right.
but they're still classified as manga.
It's not Naruto or Bleach where the women just have big boobs.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Like there's manga has made some really good strides in these past couple years. Past 2 years I would say. And for me in my world it has taken a huge step back with these ignorant people out there.
right.
These ignorant people who I now have to deal with, and I have to you know they cause so much strife for something so stupid
Right.
and jumping to conclusions.
Right. Well, and I mean, my other thing is, would it have really been handled any different, based off of, or how different would have been handled based off of your gender, based off of your
Your race.
race,
Yeah.
based off of religious prowess. What if you're like, oh yeah, I'm a diehard Christian, but I read manga,
Yeah.
like shit like that. That's
Yeah.
that's another thing. And I mean, that's another thing. I mean, you could have sat there and brought up YouTube and scrolled through many people, be
But
like,
the
yeah,
the,
look,
the
all these
thing
people
is
have that.
to automatically jump to child protective services
Right.
and not if you had these concerns with I'm still baffled how they found my YouTube. Uh if you had these concerns, why not bring them up to his father or his
Right.
mother? Like
Or
just
well,
go.
I mean, to extend it out from there, why not bring it up to you?
Yeah, to me. Yeah. Yeah.
And instead of just calling, just assuming, just
Yeah,
doing that.
cuz my son does not watch my YouTube channel. He would like to be in a video one day, but he does not watch my YouTube channel. He wants to do a podcast with me, but after this, I can't. Like I can't.
Yeah.
I if this shit's going to happen, I'm afraid to show my son a manga that he might like. And then what if I get this again,
Right.
Because these people are so close-minded that you can't let a child read a comic book that's appropriate for them, and keep the inappropriate stuff away.
Right. Well, and like we were talking about, I would have liked to know how things would have been handled if it was another one of us in the community,
Yeah.
another parent,
Yeah.
how would that have been handled? I mean, because yours seems like, even though you had to go through the experience of it or whatever, you also got that kind of light at the end of the tunnel. Nothing's going to be pursued about it.
Well,
Like,
it's not
it,
it's not officially closed yet. It'll be
yeah,
officially because they have to finish in like they have to talk to the other two parents,
yeah,
and then and if there was no outcry, the case basically gets closed.
right.
But we have to wait till Monday
But
to find out.
it does seem like it is going well. But what about those other people that this does end worse for, that
Yeah.
are exactly the same way? I mean,
Yeah.
could be anything.
True.
Oh, so I mean, but that also puts a thing. That also puts a thing, I think, that we have to think about and understand. And I'm going to reference a movie,
Okay.
but the Deadpool movie. A lot of people go, oh yeah, my kids, even though like the Avengers, your kid might not be old enough for it, but because people are like superheroes and whatnot, their kid's gonna watch it with them or something like that. There's going to be things that are said that the kid obviously doesn't understand. It might be like, oh, I just like that because the Hulk and Thor are going to be in it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They recognize these characters. They recognize Spider-Man and things, even though things that they might not understand happen in it.
Yeah.
But in reference to the Deadpool movie, like I said, how many people took their kids to the Deadpool movie, and Ryan Reynolds mentioned it. He already knew it was going to happen because he has the whole thing in there. This is not a kids movie.
That is true.
You brought your kid here, and this isn't your traditional, hey, no blood, no killing kind of movie. But you're not going to see any of the. You're not going to see any of those parents. Oh well, you made this decision.
I mean,
And
I wouldn't be.
have somebody come look into their lives, search them out and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't parents who walked out of the Deadpool movie, or
Yeah.
certain movies. It's happened before. I mean, you just gotta be diligent and and research your stuff. You know, and
Right.
these people did not,
Right.
not at all.
Right. Well, and I mean, let me throw an experience in here from my life since we've been focusing on you a lot.
All right, let's do this.
So, me growing up, when I first started everything, my sisters and everybody, my mom, everybody knew that I really enjoyed manga. They would buy it for Christmas. And before I had nephews and nieces and younger siblings and stuff, there were points where I would kind of get that, oh, this is like some weird shit you're into. Maybe not like I was peddling porn, but maybe like I was into witchcraft or something. Like that's because it was
Yeah,
like,
no,
oh
I
yeah,
got you. I got you.
you
Yeah,
have this stuff, you have a lot of this stuff,
yeah.
but the moments that I remember the best is whenever my two younger siblings and my nieces and nephews on my other side actually started getting into this stuff. And their parents basically turned around and were more accepting of it. And then it was this whole kind of weird thing where it was like, well, I don't enjoy this stuff. I don't know anything about it, but can you explain stuff about it to me so I can have conversations with my kids about it or
Yeah.
whatever? And it was kind of like this whole weird clearing the air thing because my nephews and nieces and younger siblings got into reading manga and
Hmm.
whatnot.
Yeah.
You know, that's also other things that I feel like that we keep kind of beating the dead horse on with many different episodes targeting this subject.
Oh no, the horse has been dead,
now,
beaten.
now we're beating it to dust.
Now we're like chopping it up and mutilating it.
Uh,
You know,
would you like a horse hot dog?
it has been chopped up into little fine pieces.
Right, put through the meat grinder.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
getting a horse dog.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, and one of the people that first kind of got me into things was my dad. He would
Yeah.
buy some of the older anime and whatnot that I didn't know that's what it was. I just thought it was a
Mhm.
cartoon movie. And we talked about it, like Demon City Shinjuku and some of the other ones like that.
Mhm.
Um, were things that I unknowingly grew up watching and whatnot.
Yeah.
Probably before I should have watched some of them. But the thing is, I think that's one of the things that kind of set it for me. I enjoy this
Mhm.
stuff. I want to have all this stuff. I want to do this stuff. And really learning that even though my dad didn't care for it anymore and got rid of all that stuff, that I could still enjoy that stuff. I mean, how many of us grew up with Gundam,
Yeah.
and some of them weren't that bad, you know, and aspects that you could sit down and let a kid watch it. I mean, it might be long winded. They might not want to sit there and watch it the whole time or whatever. And
Hmm.
but I mean, we've had other ones come out now that, because it's under the same umbrella, that are a lot more gruesome. You know,
Or we could throw in like Darling in the Franks, where that is like that cranks up like the sexuality in it a lot,
yeah,
you know.
right.
But
Well,
it's a mecha show.
and then Rosario Vampire,
Oh, that's I mean that show sucks. The manga is fun, but the show sucks.
right? But it targets, you know, more sexual things.
Yeah,
They make it seem like the boobs get bigger and everything else like
I know,
that. You know,
I know. I've
there
seen it.
is kind of a sexual allure to some of the
Yeah,
things.
and I mean let's be honest. Like that's like 90% of the anime and manga out. You know
Right, right,
what? What manga nowadays doesn't have like an attractive anime girl on the front cover? You know,
right.
like
But I just don't get it, because I have to think, like I said in that aspect, like where my dad came from, kind of the history of somebody older enjoying some of this stuff and then getting out of it for whatever reason. But then also, like in your situation, an older person that's like instantly anything that
uh,
you read like this.
yeah,
Naruto is porn.
yeah,
Bleach is porn. You know, I
yeah.
mean, honestly, if you gave them the reins on Pokemon, they'd be like, "That's porn," you know,
That's porn.
for sure, for sure.
Porn.
That's porn.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't. It didn't make any sense.
I
Honestly,
think we got the title for our episode.
it's not porn. It's manga.
No, manga is porn.
Manga is porn. Goodness gracious. But I mean, you know, and that's another thing. Like, what's an appropriate age if your kid wants to get into it? You know,
Yeah.
do you go off of the guidelines of it, or do you only let them read things that you've read previously? You know,
Or do you read it before your child reads it? You know, if you don't even know anything about manga,
right?
like, do you screen it? Like, my yeah, like my dad would watch movies before I would get to watch them, and he would say yes or no if I got to watch some movies. And or play video games. Like
Yeah,
my dad was pretty vigilant at what I could and could not watch. When I was younger,
right. Well,
until I
and
became a
I mean that's the thing. Like, you're the parent of your child, and you should know this
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Like, if I had an older child, I might not watch some of the stuff that I watch around my younger child. You know, anything that has violence in it, but I know 90% of the time he's going to be sitting there playing with a toy or something. And unless somebody like Ghost Rider comes out and goes, "I'm going to burn you up," and shouts and whatnot, he's not going to care.
Like I was like the other day, I was playing Resident Evil Village,
Yeah,
uh, and I was just walking around the village, not killing anybody. Not There was no monsters around, and it was like bedtime, and my kid comes in to say goodnight, and he gets focused on the TV and he gets scared, like
yeah,
just from me walking around in this creepy village. He gets scared,
yeah,
and he's like, "Turn it off, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off." Like I'm not a bad person.
right. Well, I'll tell you something that happened to me the other day. You know, I just got done watching the Marvel shows that came over from Netflix.
Yeah.
But before I started watching them, I wanted to double check and see if anything was taken out of them. Well, in Jessica Jones episode 1 with Luke Cage, they have a big like sex scene.
Was that taken out?
It was not,
Okay.
which is why Disney Plus is now have like things password protected.
Yeah,
You
it's
know, like,
the parental control.
yeah. Well, so
Yeah.
I look at that, you know, and we're at my mom's house. My mom
Uh-huh.
is out in the yard with my son and everything, and I see them come back to the sliding glass door, and I'm like, oh shit, because I thought they would be gone longer for me to check on other things and know that, to me, those are inappropriate ones for him to be around, and so
Yeah.
I'll try. So I mean, that's just one of them. More so, like when superheroes fight, I don't care.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's superhero movie is a superhero movie.
Yeah,
They're all different kinds. Just like there's all different kinds of comic books. Superheroes, stuff like that. Like you just
right,
have to learn. You just don't jump to conclusions.
right. But I mean, and then you look at some of the other stuff, like any of our superhero movies compared to like the PJ Masks or
Yeah,
the Dino Ranch compared to Jurassic Park or whatever. There is definitely a gap.
yeah. I think, I think when it comes to like the U.S., like a lot of people are a lot more prudish, and they're a lot more standoffish when it comes to like manga or anime. Uh,
Right.
and I really think like they're just not comfortable with like sexual things. And that's why people
Well,
get so offended.
and I also think that people don't do their own research.
Yeah.
I think
Cuz one
they
thing that was one thing that was said in the report was I had content that was depicting underage like characters
yeah,
in it, but I do not buy anything that has lollies in it. You know
right.
me. You know how I feel about that.
Not unless it's like a surprise lolly that you didn't know was in there.
Not unless it's a surprise lolly, which sometimes those slip through.
Oh my gosh, that's true.
Sometimes those they just slip through the cracks. But like, I don't buy anything that has like underage people in it. Like, no,
Right,
no.
right. Well, and I mean another thing, like, and we've brought this up and talked about it before on this subject of the difference between lolly and petite. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
well, somebody else that I mean, that's taken us a long time to get to where they actually wanted to differentiate what lolly was and what petite was.
I mean, lolicon can just burn and go away.
Right.
Because
But, you know,
I personally feel that it is a big stain on the anime
definitely.
manga industry, in my opinion.
Definitely.
You
I
know,
mean, except
like
except for the clothes. If you want to dress up
except,
as a maid, I
yeah,
can't say anything about it.
except for the clothes. The clothes are fine.
If you want to dress up as a maid, I can't say anything about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I mean, like I said, like that's something that is just recently, Faku added it last year to their roster of, well, this isn't lolly, it's petite. The person's old
Yeah.
enough, they're just small, things like that. But to, I guess you could say, the untrained eye, that sounds really stupid, like we're ninjas or
I mean, no, no, no. You're not.
double
You're
o
not
double
wrong.
o seven, 007, but to the untrained eye of knowing and reading something and knowing, okay, most people are going to say, well, that's like a lolly, that's something that's sexual, that's whatever, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
you know point blank into discussion on that. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
most of us have had to wade ourselves through the waters of uncertainty of what certain things are, could be, whatever, you know.
hmm Like it's
And
not like the why. It's not like it used to be before, where like we had like it was almost like the Wild West of manga, where like you didn't know what you were getting. You
right,
know, nowadays things are clearly labeled. And you go from there. Just like buying a video game or buying a CD. That's an
right.
outdated
Well,
reference for anybody.
and anything that would be questionable, I mean, most of those, like you said, There might be one or two that fall through the net, but
Yeah.
for the most part, most of them are categorized correctly. What gets to be read, different things like that.
Yeah. And I'm an
So,
adult. Like
right,
TikTok says, I'm an adult and I have an adult money. I'm allowed to buy adult things.
right, right. Even if sometimes you spend too much adult money on
Yeah,
buying
sometimes you
things,
spend too much adult money, but that's another whole thing into itself, you know.
and then you start using up your adult line of credit,
And then the credit companies come after you.
right? The adult credit companies go after
The
you.
adult credit companies.
And then you can't buy any more of your adult stuff that you wanted to because now your adult monies are going to pay off your adult credit.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, yeah. No true. No true. Yeah. I mean, how do I mean we've kind of talked about it. How would you improve or educate the world about
How would you improve or educate the world on it?
yeah,
Statistics.
statistics?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like honestly, you could bring up anything from COVID and how manga sales increased and all this other stuff, and
Mhm.
say like, well, if you're going to come after me for this, look at all these other people that have this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there were people that had kids and stuff when I was on YouTube that were openly like, "Hey, I'm reading this," and da da da, da, and weren't as so protective about where their shit was as you are. And even though they had their manga bookshelves in their room, still had the stuff where it was right there, accessible to their kids if they wanted it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah.
wasn't hidden away. It wasn't anything else. I mean, my shit's hidden away where people don't know where it is. And I'll just go ahead and tell you because I showed you. I mean, it was
It's
funny.
I saw it when I walked in. It's behind your TV
Exactly. But you know how many
in
people
your
have walked
bedroom.
in there?
It's in a
You know,
little box behind your
yeah,
TV.
a little closed box, yeah. But you know how many people have walked in my room and be like, because my TV's in the corner, people, so nobody really knows what's there unless you're really looking for it. And I've had,
I just happened to glance at the box, and the
I
box is like
had,
partially open.
yeah, I had somebody that was like, I don't know, one of my brothers that has been coming over here for 2 years just go,
Yeah.
did you know you, they just asked me like last month, did you know you have a box behind your TV? I was like, yeah. And they asked me, well, why do you have a box back there? I said, that's where my hentai manga stuff is. And they went, I've never been able to find that.
Yeah, I think when I was over, like it was partially open,
Yeah.
and I walked into your room, and I looked over and I saw it. I was like, okay, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
yours is a lot smaller than mine is, so mine's a little harder to hide.
Whatever. Whatever. But like I said, you have
But
yours
I mean,
hidden
look at like
away.
yeah. I mean, look at it like this. Like there are a ton of people who talk about hentai on YouTube. You know?
That's true.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, like
That
yeah,
is true. That are
yeah.
parents that do have kids that do have this
But
stuff in other places.
we just talk about this, going around in circles, talking about this shit. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, this is something that was really shitty. Really shitty. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
And I'm really confused on why it even was a thing. I would like to be the fly on the wall with the people that came to see you
Yeah.
and kind of have heard what they said. Like, man, like I know we have to do the research for this, kind of like a lawyer that has to defend somebody they know is guilty. You
Yeah.
know, oh man, like this is the stupidest thing ever. why are well, like we have to do our job, but this is dumb.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And my house was not in the best, like I haven't had a chance to like clean, so like my room was messy, like it was just not cool. It was not a good time, It
Whoa,
wasn't in
whoa,
the
whoa,
best
whoa, whoa.
upkept shape at the time.
Right. Well, and you couldn't have said anything either. Give me 5 minutes.
Like,
Because
you 5 minutes.
he's hiding the shit. Let's get him. Drug bust.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Goodness
I
gracious.
was like, don't mind. Like, I'm sorry for the mess, but it's a mess right now. Like, we've been going through like clothes and stuff and donating huge spring cleaning in our room, and we still have
Yeah.
like stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, out of this, and we've kind of said this before too, our platform that we use doing the podcast and everything does give us a little more leniencies of life, of being able to talk about things like this and have it where other people that like and enjoy content that we do are able to listen to it and able to know a little bit how to handle some of the stuff as well.
Yeah.
So
We don't get a lot on this podcast, but sometimes we have, couple episodes, and just
right.
it's all really about being educated and how you handle the situation at hand.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. But anyway, guys, will you have any other things that you want to say?
Um.
It's like
Eventually,
maybe
I will have a conversation with this person, and I expect a formal apology, and I will get my apology for dragging my name through the mud.
again. Goodness.
But yeah,
I'm starting to think Mike's a dirty name. As many times as it's been dragged through the
I'm just dirty.
mud. You're about to be like Shrek living out in the swamp.
Get out of my swamp.
Get out of my swamp. But
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, thanks for listening. Let us know if you have any stories or have been through anything like this. Maybe we can bring it up on the podcast, no names, and let other people know, other people that have had experiences like this, and just kind of go from
I would be
there.
shocked. I would be shocked to see if anybody had an experience like this. I feel like
I'm sure there's more than we know.
I feel like it's like a needle in a haystack type of situation.
I don't know. But anyway, guys, thanks for listening. We will catch y'all later. See you next Tuesday.